This week's episode, we're talking some serious firepower. We're talking heavy machine guns, Javelin and Motars. How's it going? Great to see everyone again. Welcome if you're new. My name's Luke. I'm a serving soldier in the British Army. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell icon. That will keep you up to date on any future content. So episode 3 then on our infantry jobs mini-series. What I'm going to do today then is I'm going to cram in sort of 3 different sort of specialist weapons that you can do, separate platoons within the infantry itself. I'm going to put them all into this one episode. So as you probably tell from the title, it's going to be mortars, machine gun platoon and the Javelin. So machine gun platoon then, it's obviously, like we said, a platoon, and it's in this sort of support company element of an infantry battalion. It does exactly what it says in the tin. It's machine gun platoon, so it's a fire support element. You also have the GPMG, which you would see in a normal infantry platoon, so you have a lot more of them than you would in an infantry platoon. You also have the 50 cal machine gun and the GMG, so the grenade machine gun, and that sort of pumps out the sort of 40mm rounds. The platoon itself then will have that range of weapon systems, and they'll have different sections within the platoon, each sort of in charge of whatever weapon system they've got, and they are then able to move around the battlefield, conflict, wherever it is, and provide fire support to the infantry platoon or an infantry company, and advancing in or doing whatever business they're going to be doing. So how do you go about getting amongst the machine gun platoon? Can you go straight from Catrick? Yes, you can. Similar to the recce sort of style of stuff, where the guys within the platoon itself, the instructors, so the commanders, will look through all your reports and stuff and see if you have got what it takes to make that transition straight from training into the platoon itself. If you don't, you've come to rifle company and it's come to that sort of period where you need to, if you want to select a specialist weapons to go down and you decide machine guns is for you, you put your hand up your chain of command, and then you go away and go on a carter. So like we discussed with the recce carter, it's a course itself where it's ran by the platoon, so it's internal, not like the snipers where it's external and the pioneers where it's external. This is internal, and your regiment's machine gun sort of platoon will run that, and you'll go through everything. You'll go through all the sort of the skill of arms, so learning the new weapon systems. It's a new weapon system, so you have to be all over it just as much as you are your personal weapon system, going through all the sort of how to maintain it, how to take it apart, and go through your sort of qualifying shoots on that. And once you're at that sort of base standard, then they'll go into more advanced stuff with that. You'll also get qualification wise, civilian and military wise, would be your driving, because they're not just man-packed, they are fitted onto vehicles as well. And currently then we have the sort of Husky vehicle. Look at potentially going to the Jackal and maybe the Coyote as well, all requiring a C licence. So a bit of a trend there, you notice, with certainly my battalions in the Royal Irish. You're 100% going to get your C licence if you don't have it after Catrick, because pretty much all our vehicles require you to have that C licence. So you've done all that there. Civilian qualifications specific to the machine gun platoon and their skill set, there isn't. You're not going to get any out of it. Obviously the C licence there, you can pull that and use that in Civvy Street, but don't forget, in these sort of different platoons and whatnot, that doesn't stop you from doing all the different courses that normal soldiers are available to soldiers as well, which can get you civilian qualifications. So just talking specifically to the platoon itself. So yeah, you do that course. So what sort of stuff they're expecting of you? It's going to be the same throughout. You're going to notice a trend with all these specialist weapons. You know, it says on the tin specialist, so it's a new skill set, a more advanced skill set. So you're going to have to be like sort of mature. You're going to have to be motivated and physically fit, because like you heard me saying there, it's heavy weapons. So then machine guns, if you don't have the vehicle there to maneuver around, they still have the capability to man-pack everything. So all the different, the sort of the GMG and the 50 cal, the bigger ones, can split down into certain segments, and each man within that sort of team carries it that distance. And if you can imagine, then you're on a high feature, you're providing that fire support down, your element down here is moving along. As you're getting closer, you're going to come into the arcs of fire, so this needs to move. So consistently, your fire support is always moving. The blokes in machine gun platoon, they are lifting, they are dumping all the ammunition, all the sort of heavy weapons, as well as their own personal soldier and stuff, their body armour and their own personal rifles and whatnot as well. So just the same as what the rifle company guys are doing in the attack. So physical fitness is going to be a big one. Like anything then, your medical stuff has to be up there as well, because you can be split off into your teams to provide fire support for different locations. Your map reading, so all that sort of stuff. And like what I said about being a rank heavy platoon, it's going to be that mature atmosphere, so you're going to have to be able to fit into there as well. So yeah, that is the machine gun platoon. Next then, mortars. These are also a fire support element, and they are within all regiments. They are platoon as well. Can you go straight from Catrick? Yes, you can as well, but like I've said, for all the other specialist weapon stuff, it's up to that platoon to decide, is that sort of person coming in, have they got the right caliber to start off within us. Same again, so you'll go to them, put your hand up. Then if you've been in the army for a while, you'll go away on a mortar carter, and that is also ran by the mortar platoon. Quite a lot of live firing you'll do with them, and a lot of calculations. So this also feeds back into what I was saying, a couple of episodes ago about, everyone thinking infantry is all sort of, thick and can't use their brains. So the mortars, they have to be able to map read, but also make calculations on maps and stuff, because they're firing them rounds from quite a bit away, and it's going across maybe over troops' heads and such. So you have to make all them calculations to provide that fire, and to make sure that fire is accurate as possible and as safe as possible from friendly troops. They have sections as well, so each barrel is like a section, and you'll have sort of numerous ranks within there. It's got the same sort of career progression as well. So as well as the machine guns, you can progress within the platoons itself, but you can also double hat. So you can do the sort of leadership courses within the infantry, the sort of the junior Brecken, the senior Brecken, as well as doing the stuff for your special weapons. So you're double hatting. But we'll go more into the sort of leadership courses in a different episode. But for the mortars then is so you'll do sort of your number ones and stuff is your private, or your ranger, your rifleman. Your NCO card then is going to qualify to lance corporal. That's the same for everyone, so you'll go away and you'll all go together. It doesn't matter what trade or specialist weapon you are, or where you are in the infantry regiment, you'll all go away together and do that. Come back. So the difference then for mortars, then you're going to go to corporal, you're going to go down to Warminster, and you're going to do your bravos. Your bravo then is the guy who's a part of the mortar platoon, but he comes out of the mortar platoon and embeds in with a rifle platoon as such whenever they're out on the ground. So they'll be forward with the riflemen, the rifle companies, and if they require mortars, that bravo is there on the front line, so he can see where he needs to drop his bombs, and he makes all the calculations and sends it back via radio to the mortar barrels. Your next then is your alphas. It's also done in Warminster, and that's going to qualify you to sergeant. And what you're doing there then is you're away, so you're stepping back from what the Bravo's doing, and you're basically the advisory to like the OCs and whatnot, and advising. The officer, the leader may have a sort of problem, and he may ask what sort of assets he has. You're that SME now in mortars, so you provide, I can do this, this and this, I can provide this. So you've got that progression as well. As well as the sort of machine guns, both of them you can get all the way up to the rank of WO2, which is Sergeant Major, within that platoon itself. So the career progression there as well, and you can also freely jump in and out of that platoon as you move along your army career. So yeah, that's for mortars. Okay then, so last but not least, also a fire support element then is the Javelin. So if you don't know what a Javelin is, it's basically a big massive rocket launcher within the military, and fires very expensive rockets, very smart expensive rockets. So that's the Javelin. It's within the support companies as well. It's a platoon, so you're talking a gold standard like 30 to 34 sort of strong platoon. It's also rank heavy as well, so you'll notice this trade with all the sort of specialist weapons platoons, they are rank heavy. just the nature of the job and what they do. Can you go straight from Catrick? Yes, you can as well. Same again, the guys in the platoon will make their sort of assumptions off that candidate. Could he make the transition in and go straight on the Carter? They'll go through all that sort of assessment process. If not, then and you're in your sort of regiment and you want to do it, you just ask. And whenever that sort of Carter period comes up, so Carter being the course, you go on and do that. And that's also ran by the Javelin platoon guys. So it's the same as mortars and machine guns and the recce, where it's all internal. So your own battalion and regiment will run it. And they'll go through it. It can range in the length of time it is, but it is normally around 4 to 6 weeks. And they'll go away to a training area and they'll go through everything. So their platoon then is split down. They've got sections, which are not called sections, they like to call them deaths, and they have a numerous amount of these launchers. So roles that they do then, so they are there then like anti-tank threat, and they can take out armour and vehicles and whatnot. They can also make, if you're in a sort of a scenario where it's in like a built up area and you need a point of entry, they can also have got the capability to do that, because their rockets are very smart and they can put them straight through windows and do all sorts of stuff to be really sort of specific in where they want that rocket to land. Also, if you're having dramas and you're taking fire from a certain area and it's a bunker or it's in one of these sort of built up positions, and they're enabled then to precisely put that rocket in where you need it. They're also a recce element, so we've got really good fields of view, and they've got a lot of equipment to find where people are as such. I'm not going to go too much into their sites, but they've got all different more advanced sight systems than what any other sort of platoon or whatnot would have in your regiment. So you're talking sort of thermal imaging. It's got a very high zoom on that sort of thermal imaging, so they can be used as a recce element. So they would push out for further away from the regiment and the unit. Similar to what recce. Sometimes they can sort of maybe even embed in with recce because they've got that sort of equipment and provide information and feedback and be that sort of early warning. So yeah, type of guy they're looking at then to potentially go for them. Obviously, with all these sort of weapons, the sort of specialist weapons, you've got to be keen, interested, wanting to learn a new sort of skill set. You're going to have to be fit, and if you're not, you don't have to be superhuman fit, but you have to be to a certain caliber of fitness, and you have to be able to work in this sort of mature atmosphere, because the job they're doing is important, as well as all these sort of specialist platoons, because they are further away than what your normal regiment, your normal company would be, and you need to be on top of all your basic soldiering. They don't have the time to sort of revert back and sort of pick up on your basic soldiering and teach you basic stuff. They need you to be focused on this sort of specialist weapon. So that's the type of bloke. So it's basically the same sort of caliber all the way through, going in these Carters, and the same sort of mindset you need to be, and that's really it. And what we'll do is I've got a video here actually of guys from the regiment back in one of the Herricks firing one of these rockets, and these rockets can range up to, I think it's about £65,000. Really, really smart and sophisticated, and you're going to see one of these go off now. And there you go, there's a £65,000 javelin being fired in Afghanistan. So yeah, that brings us to the end of tonight's episode. Obviously covering the machine gun platoon, Javelin and Mortars. If you've got this stage, happy days, give us a like. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done it already. 2 more episodes left. Next week's episode then I'm going to look at doing signals, so the communication side of things, and working with all the sort of radios and the sort of platoon there, and what sort of stuff you can go get out of that platoon and what that may look like for you as a career. And the 5th one, the last one then, is going to be the sort of rifle company. And yes, it's not a specialist weapon, but 9 times out of 10 when you finish training, that's where you're going to go to. So it's to give you a little bit more in-depth information on what life may look like for you whenever you go into that sort of rifle company and what we're all about, and also the career sort of streaming route you can take via the sort of rifle company. And that's us for this week's episode. Don't forget them. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook, so all your sort of still videos, still pictures and stuff. I've got a few more I'll be posting out during this week that I got from being away last week. And that's us. So what I'll do is I'll see you again next week.